live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. I'm Jamie McGriff in for Brian Schnee, who's off today. It's Friday, April 28th, and we are going in depth on a few topics, including former Vice President Mike Pence, who is in Utah today. We're going to be talking with our Brian Malahy, who was live at the event, plus a cougar that attacked someone in Spanish Fork. It's on the loose. And of course, it's Friday. So Sterling is here to break down the weekend forecast. A lot of people talking about that because of the temperatures. But before we dive in, we have a look at what's making headlines. All right, now taking a look here, we have beautiful weather pictures that we want to show you. This is from Elaine Davis. Thank you so much, Elaine, for sending this in. West Jordan, look at this double rainbow. Wow, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sending that in. And we also have, once again, our webpage showing what is trending on KUTV.com. We want to make sure that you are doing your part by checking in. We have updates all the time. Happening today, an apartment groundbreaking for new affordable housing units in Central City. All 110 studio and 1-bedroom units will be rented at cheaper rates for those who are making 60% or less of the area's median income. That is so encouraging for people who are looking to have rent taken care of. Another thing too that we want to make sure that we are looking at here is once again we're talking about Vice President Mike Pence being here in Utah to talk about some of his goals and what he's looking to do. And then also we talked about the sister of Chad Daybell's sister testifying. We're going to be talking about that headlines as well. And once again, with this, fresh off of his testimony on efforts to overturn the 2020 election, former Vice President Mike Pence speaking in Salt Lake, that testimony to a grand jury investigating actions by former President Donald Trump. It came up during his visit here to Salt Lake, and Brian Malahy is live outside Zions Bank headquarters downtown. And Brian, tell us about today's event. I hear that the turnout, there were more than 100 people that showed up for this?
Yeah, this was an invitation-only luncheon here at Zions Bank. It was sponsored by the Herbert Institute for Public Policy at UVU. And there were a couple hundred people who were invited. There were some movers and shakers in that room, some very prominent business figures, also politicians, and of course the former vice president with his wife Karen. They flew in on a private jet that was sent to Indiana by a Utah GOP donor to pick them up and to take them back. And presumably the Pences are very near touchdown in Indiana now. Just yesterday, Mike Pence was in Washington, D.C., testifying before a grand jury into efforts to overturn the 2020 election, specifically efforts related to former President Donald Trump. The former vice president has split with Trump related to the events of that day. Of course, the former vice president wanted Pence not to certify the election result in Congress. Pence said he did not have the constitutional authority to do that, and it did come up in the discussion here today. He was asked about that, asked about his testimony before the grand jury, and Mike Pence said, listen, I'm limited in what I can say, but a tragic day turned into a day for freedom, and also a day in which he says he performed his constitutional duty in Washington. So, it wasn't the hardest hitting interview for the former VP, but it was the question that just about everybody in the room wanted asked, and Gary Herbert asked it today. Jamie?
Brian, one of the things too, the tone of of the meeting today. How did people overall, was the tone more or less really conservative, really quiet? How would you gauge that?
So the former vice president is soft-spoken, and we talked to people afterward today who, and asked them, well, how would you describe Mike Pence? And they said, man of convictions, a person who is, is kind, has been able to engage in power in this country and around the world like very few people do. And then we spoke to another man who said, you know, he's not very exciting, and he's not going to bring the house down. And we also talked to people about, you know, do you think that he's running, and do you think that you know, you'd vote for him? And so a person I asked that to today, you know, again, very sympathetic crowd here, very friendly crowd, and he said, you know, I don't know. And another person said, you know, there's Donald Trump and there's Ron DeSantis, and you know, I think it's an uphill climb for Mike Pence. So that was kind of the tenor in the room today. I mean, people were very gracious, glad that he's here, appreciate all that he's done. Would they vote for him? You know, who's to say? I don't think necessarily this was a place where the former vice president sealed the deal. But it wasn't necessarily designed for that either, to be fair.
Brian Malahy, thank you so much. And in this week's Take Two podcast, Heidi Hatch went in depth on several political topics, including the former vice president's visit here to Utah. If you would like to hear more, you can find the podcast and coverage of the issues that matter to you on the 2 News mobile app. Oh boy. Okay, so taking a live look now, this is at the Weber River, and this is I-84 at the power plant. And you can see traffic is moving just fine there, but the river is really what we're paying close attention to, because once again, while everyone is happy that the temperatures are warming up, ooh, it's edging up just a little bit too much.
Well, yeah, today was a great day, perfect weather, no problems with the flooding, no problems with the too hot.
Yeah.
But over the next 2 to 3 days, we're going to see those temperatures climbing back into the 80s. And what you don't see in that picture is the river, which is just off to the right there. And it's running. It's controlled, though. It's still controlled. It comes out of Echo Reservoir. It's controlled there. It's controlled at Rockport Reservoir. So it's still under a lot of controls. And so they're trying to get as much water out of those 2 reservoirs as they can before we start to see some major snow melt come into those reservoirs. So that's what we're doing now. And it's actually a very well planned out and controlled situation there. But we do have some interesting weather to talk about. I'm going to show you a temperature right now that I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around.
Oh boy.
Take a look at Portland, Oregon right now. Their high today, 87 degrees. 87 in Portland. That's just a very, very warm temperature for those folks this time of the year. 70 in Salt Lake, and look at Phoenix at 98. So we're kind of surrounded. We've got some heat out here. We've got some heat down here. And as the high pressure builds in over us, that heat's going to be moving into Utah. And we will see temperatures climbing into the 80s. We got up to 70 today. 65 in Provo, 67 in Manti, 70 in Hanksville, Cedar City at 70 degrees. Perfect temperatures for this time of the year, and perfect to get the snow down carefully. But that's going to change as this high pressure centers itself across the state of Utah. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we'll see those temperatures climbing into the mid to upper 80s in many locations, and St. George will be in the 90s. 80 in Moab, 78 in Richfield, 75 in Price tomorrow, 54 in Evanston, still nice there, 69 in Logan. Now, these temperatures you see in Evanston and Rock Springs and Park City, that gives you an idea of what we're looking at about 6,500 feet, 7,000 feet. Those are the temperatures we're seeing there. So we are starting to melt that mid-elevation snowpack pretty quickly, and that's going to continue over the next couple of days. The high-elevation snowpack is still pretty much locked up, but this is going to change that as we get some wind into the snowpack, and we get those hot temperatures moving in from Arizona into southern Utah. Then California is going to see more rain on top of all the snow that's in the Sierra Mountains right now. They're going to see some rain on snow situations. They're still well above normal for this time of the year for their snowpack. So there's a lot of interesting things with this particular weather pattern that we're forecasting. So here's what kind of bullet point of what we're looking at. Near record heat is on the way. Continued rising of the streams and rivers, increasing chance of localized flooding. And we want to emphasize to keep your kids and pets away from this situation, because that water is running fast, it's running cold, and in seconds it could be a tragedy in the making. I also want to show you the statewide snowpack right now, 259% of normal. It peaked at 30 inches record. Of course, now the current snow water equivalent is still 25 inches statewide average. That is a lot of water up there. It's 25 inches. Notice it causes in the LaSalle's there 941% of normal, 340% of normal, 289% of normal. So there's still plenty of snow in that high elevation snowpack that's locked up, ready to come down, and it will come down as we get into the southerly winds that we're expecting this next week. So that's going to change everything. 90 to 92 to 88 on Monday, 84 on Tuesday. The winds kick in, maybe some thunder showers on Thursday for the St. George area. And then for Salt Lake City, we've got those temperatures in the 70s, upper 70s tomorrow, 79, 85 on Sunday, 87 on Monday. So that's Portland temperature we're seeing right now. 82 on Tuesday, 81 on Wednesday. Some thunder showers move into the forecast, which could add some additional problems with all that moisture coming in from California.
At what point do we officially start to see ourselves consistently hot? At what point do you think?
Usually the middle of May into June, we start to see a consistent above 70s and above. But this time of the year, we're still, our normal high is 60. I think at the end of the month it's 69. 69 degrees is our normal high.
Way ahead of things.
So we're
right
still
now.
10 degrees above that as we move into the 80s. And then as we move into the mid 80s, that's 15 degrees, close to 20 degrees. So.
And we have record snowpack, and now we have interesting heat.
Yeah, and an interesting weather pattern, which is kind of unusual for this time of the year as well. That cutoff low that's sitting off of California next week is going to be creating some issues that we're going to have to deal with.
All right, so we'll just hang tight and
we'll keep you posted right here on 2 News.
All right, thank you so much, Sterling.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember that you can download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get those updated forecasts, live radar, all of it right on your phone, and the app is free to download. And also, we want you to know that KUTV is working for you by staying on pothole patrol if you have bad areas in your neighborhood or on your ride into work or school, because you know it can be rough heading into school or work with those potholes. You can click on the QR code. You can share on Chime In. You can email our Kristen McPeak with the location of the pothole, and we will come to your neighborhood and try to alert crews and say, hey, come over here and fix this. We'll try to get them repaired for you. And we want to hear from you at home. How would you describe the pothole situation in your neighborhood? You can scan that QR code that you see on your screen. You can also, you can just let us know here. And oh yes, and people are voting right now. It's gone up to 72%. Thank you so much. So 7% of you say they've all been filled. Congratulations. That's great. 72%, 71, 72. I'm going to go with 72. 72% of you are saying that more work needs to be done. I know I have some in my neighborhood that need to be worked on. 21%, nothing has been filled. Oh, it's probably a war zone where you are. Nobody, 0%. No one has said that no pothole issues near me. Just comes to show you that, everybody in some form or fashion dealing with pothole issues. And gone up 27%. So we're all feeling it in some form or fashion. Okay, so we are covering Utah County, where DWR officials, they're asking people to avoid Diamond Fork Canyon, and this is after a cougar attack. So today, officials held a news conference after a 70-year-old man was injured by a cougar, and this happened Thursday. Can you imagine how terrifying this can be? The man, he had cuts on his arms and head.
Light hit me right on the side, knocked me down the hill. Down there, and I kind of hunched up and folded up and it came down around behind me. And I hit it with a rock, just with my hand with the rock, and it took off.
That is so incredibly scary. I can't even imagine. So the Division of Wildlife has a few tips that if you do encounter a cougar, you need to do these things. For instance, you want to try to maintain eye contact with the animal. You want to pick up the children and the pets. Don't run off without them. Please don't do that. Don't crouch or squat. That's very important. They're saying that if you are aggressive enough, that the cougar will probably run away. You want to be the person to win this, not the cougar, okay? So the question for you, did you get this push alert on your phone today? As soon as the news conference started, we made sure to send this out. And if you want to be in the know, make sure that you download our 2 News mobile app. That way you'll know what's happening in your neighborhood. Very important as the warmer temperatures are kicking in. Oh, this lady right here knows how to work. I love that dress, by the way. Beautiful gown. Popular Smurf has found her voice, and pop music fans will definitely recognize it. Rihanna made a surprise appearance at the CinemaCon 2023 to announce that she has a new role in the upcoming Smurfs movie. The singer and actress, she's going to be the voice of Smurfette. Remember that character? The blue character, famously known. Yes, you do, Sterling. Come on now. The Smurfs are awesome. Okay, so with this character, famously known Smurfette, famously known as the only female Smurf in their village, and Rihanna is going to be recording new original music for the film. The Smurfs movie is scheduled for theaters February of 2025. So, Sterling, you have to check out. You know what? We'll probably have to go online so you can see some old Smurf.
Well, I've heard of the Smurfs, but I've never heard of the Smurfette.
Well, Smurfette is the female character.
Well, of course.
Like, you know, like
never...
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is the blue version of that. Okay. So it's the
Yeah,
blue
okay,
version of
okay.
that. That's how we're gonna make that out.
I've heard of the Smurfs. But I've
Okay.
never seen their shows or movies or anything.
They're cartoons.
I've never
it's
seen
a famous cartoon.
Uh-huh.
So cute.
So very good.
Yes.
That's
we'll
good.
have to show
We'll look for
him.
that in 2025.
No, sooner than that. We're going to have to make sure that you watch some
Oh,
Smurfy stuff.
Okay, well,
before.
when I have the grandkids over, maybe I'll get the Smurf stuff out and see if I can watch some of that.
You will.
Enjoy the beautiful weather, though, we got coming this weekend. I'll tell you, it's going to be absolutely spectacular. It just feels good to get out and feel that great weather. I know we've got some issues to think about,
But the
but
sun.
the weather is just going to be absolutely
It's just so
amazing.
nice to have
Yeah.
sunshine and not be bundled up with like
Yep,
8 coats.
I totally agree, and I can't wait to mow
boots.
my lawn. It's actually getting a little ragged.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's getting a little ragged. I'm thinking,
Really?
okay, I get to mow it finally.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a great experience. Thank you so much for being so gracious and
betcha.
working with me, folks. Once again, thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. We hope that you will join us again for more in-depth conversations on the topics that impact you and your family. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll be back Monday at 5:30.
Go Smurfs.